Good morning, my name is Thomas Hirst and this is Kirklees Local TV's weekly wind-up. Each week we bring you up to date on all the latest news across the Kirklees area. We aim to be interesting, amusing, challenging and of course provocative. But we're not just satisfied with talking to you and let's face it, you don't want to see my ugly face every week. So we want you to talk to us. We want to hear from you. You can contact us by email with any comments on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com. And of course you can find us on Twitter by searching @Kirklees Local TV. My guests this week, Mumtaz Ali and Derrick Clement. Mumtaz, what's your role in the community, if you tell us briefly?
My name is Mumtaz Ali. I work for an organisation called Huddersfield Pakistani Community Alliance. We deliver a lot of youth work, we deliver a lot of community-based projects. It's a charity, the Huddersfield Pakistani Community Alliance.
And Derrick, what's your role in the community?
Yeah, my name is Derrick Clement. I'm better known in the community as 45. My role basically is I'm involved in a group that basically puts community things together. We put activities together. We invite speakers from all over the world to come and speak at events. I also do a radio show on a Sunday evening.
Well, Derrick, Mumtaz, welcome to you both. It's a pleasure to have you both here. We're going to move on to our first story of the week now. A parliamentary investigation has found that local Kirklees MP Simon Revell has claimed £469 in energy expenses over the last 12 months up to September. Now, we're learning in the papers this morning that energy prices are going to rise over and above inflation for the next 17 years. Is it really fair that politicians can delve into the public purse for these additional expenses at a time where we're guaranteed a struggle over the next 17 years? What's your thoughts, Mumtaz?
I don't think they should be really. I think especially when the local communities and the people who are voting for our councillors and our MPs, and they're voting for them to be able to go out there and go to Westminster and I think represent the local people's opinions and views and issues and concerns as well. And at the moment there's a lot of issues and concerns, and one of the main issues and concerns of course is around heating is a serious issue. We've got a lot of elderly people, I think, who are living in houses where they can't afford to pay the bills. They're just wrapping themselves up in warm clothes just to stay warm. And I think it's very unfair that I think if somebody is getting a wage as well as they're trying to make use of other perks that are accessible to them, I think it's very unfair and it should be stopped, really.
Sure, yeah. What are your thoughts, Derrick?
Well, basically, it's a matter of them and us. Basically, it's one of these them and us sort of things. Like once you're in a certain position in society, it's like if you're doomed to stay there because of the elite, as they're known as, right? They tend to put themselves in a position where they're untouchable. Yet they don't look at the normal man on the street as though he has any common sense. They think that so long as they can get enough money to survive on, they're happy with that. But they fail to realise that the people has got some sort of brain and an understanding of exactly what's going on. And what's going on is the fact that they're screwing us left, right and centre.
Well, this particular MP is, of course, by trade a barrister, and is deemed to be a very good barrister at that. Do you think perhaps his office aren't doing enough to get out the good works that he's doing in the local area? And is it the same with more MPs across Kirklees, more widely?
I think in terms of the good work that the MPs should be doing, that's part of their job. That's why they have put themselves forward to act for the public. They are there to represent the local public, the local members of the community. So that's part of their job, which they should be doing anyway. And in terms of getting the good message out, of course, yes, definitely, they should get the good message out. But I don't think that does not give enough reason for an MP or someone in the public eye to be using, I think, the taxpayers' money to pay off for their bills,
right,
really.
Right.
You see, what the MPs need to do really is they need to be living the life of somebody who's earning, say, like getting about 36 pounds a week to live on and all these sort of things. Live on the basic amount, or even get the standard wages.
Yes.
You know, they need to live on that for a while and see what it's really like. But a lot of them has never had to put up with that, so they can talk it. But if they haven't experienced it, they haven't a clue exactly what's going on. So the cut-off point between them and us is just beginning to widen, basically.
Okay. Well, it must be noted that these claims were made for his second home in London and not for his first home, which is in Kirkburton. The MP further stated that he would never claim energy expenses for his first home in Kirkburton, which burns much more energy, and also stated he recently changed his energy provider to save money and encouraged his constituents to do the same. Now, in other news, the Labour Party have been criticised nationally for their ordinary people political broadcast. The broadcast featured interviews with people struggling to pay their energy bills, stating they were putting their children to sleep at night wrapped in jumpers, and that the house was absolutely freezing. Innocent enough on the face of it, until the actors in the interviews were found out to be a millionaire restaurant owner and a Guardian journalist. Guys, in the Westminster bubble, to what extent are the politicians really struggling to relate to the struggles of ordinary people on ground level? What's your view, Derrick?
Well, pertaining to this incident, what you've just mentioned, people like that do things like that, they need to be accountable. So which means that they should be, this should be in the public eye, they should be taken to court, and you know what I mean, because this is deception on the eyes level. And when you do stuff like that on that sort of level, they need to be made an example of, basically.
Unaccountable.
Yeah, they need to make an example of and say, well, this is what they've done, and make it national and international news that they've done this certain thing, and this is the punishment they're going to get for it. But it's basically, I'm sure a few...
Mumtaz?
Yeah, I fully agree with Derrick, really. I think they should be held accountable. I think it's just completely outrageous that they can carry out such an act in order to maybe win votes or whatever it is. And I think it shouldn't be allowed.
So if I understand you correctly, that you're saying, first of all, this is simply a deceptive lie. It's not something that's representative. But also, to what extent do you think there is a cross-party struggle to relate to people? Is this a cross Labour, Lib Dem and Tory? Is it a blanket thing?
It'd be interesting. I mean, this is something that's come out into the public arena. I think it'd be interesting to see what else goes on with regards to the other parties as well. Are the other parties involved in similar acts as well?
Derrick?
Well, you see, all this comes down to the education. You see, it's just like the school system that we've got in this country at the moment. It's totally wrong. You know, you've got the elite going to certain places to learn certain things that they don't teach the common man. And then you go to vote, and you're basically voting for the same people. You vote for Labour, you vote for Conservative, you vote for Liberal Democrat. You're voting for the same people because they've all basically been educated in the same. So their mindset and way of thinking is just a one. So therefore we haven't got a choice. Because we've got that divide. That divide now makes people they're not emotionally attached.
So you're saying that... Sorry, go ahead.
And I think I agree that I think what's happening is also you've got a lot of these people in Whitehall and in Westminster who have no idea of really what goes on in the local communities at all. They've gone through the schooling systems, which are good quality schooling systems. They've gone through good colleges, good universities, coming out with these high degrees, and straight away they without any experience of what's going on in local communities or what the issues that exist and what communities are going through, they're having to go straight into maybe a junior job at Whitehall, and from the junior job they just progress up and they start becoming MPs and etc. And I think, how would those individuals know what's going on?
They also get a sense of arrogance. What that breeds is arrogance, because when you haven't actually experienced life as we call it, normal life, when you get an arrogance, and therefore you put yourself above other people, even though you try to relate and make out you try to relate, you don't really relate. So therefore that's where it comes in. So as far as they're concerned, they haven't done nothing wrong.
It's another class. It's just a class system.
Sure. Yeah. Well, interesting stuff, and of course very provocative so far. We're going to take a break right now. My name is Thomas Hirst, and you're watching Kirklees Local TV's Weekly Wind-Up. If you want to make any comments regarding what you've heard so far, you can contact Kirklees Local TV by email on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com, and of course you can search us on Twitter @Kirklees Local TV. See you after the break. Welcome back. My name is Thomas Hirst and you're watching Kirklees Local TV's Weekly Wind-Up. Moving on to our next news segment now, Councillor Kath Pinnock has vowed to try and claw back at least some of the £291,000 allocated by Kirklees Council for area committees throughout the region. They're attempting to scrap the funding due to the continuing financial squeeze on the local authority. She stated that the proposing of the scrapping of funds is an attack on communities outside the major urban areas of Huddersfield and Dewsbury. Of course, we need to tighten our belts, and this is a prolonged age of austerity. But is this going to be unequal in the way the cuts are administered? I mean, Kath Pinnock asserts this is going to be an easy cut for Labour because most of their seats are within the major urban conurbations of Huddersfield and Dewsbury. So is the cutting here going to be administered unequally? What's your thoughts, Mumtaz?
I think before the cuts take place, and I think any decisions are made, all the parties should be sitting down, and I think they should be having an open discussion, an open debate about the whole issue. And so each party has its say, and they have their opinions heard before any cuts are made or any particular towns are selected, be it Murfield or Dewsbury side or be it in Huddersfield side as well. The areas that are going to get affected. And I think at that point they should also all agree unanimously where the cut should take place. And personally, I don't think the cut should be taking place. The area what they should be doing, and if they're talking about tightening the belts, I think it's MPs and other people who should be tightening their belts and not paying for and claiming bills and fuel bills to be paid for them when they've got extortionate incomes coming in anyway. I think that's where the tightening of the belt should be taking place, not in these area committees who are doing such a good job in terms of distributing some cash out into the local community where projects are run grassroots level, where the local people can benefit. And that's taxpayers' money which is going back into the local community. I don't think that should be affected.
And of course, it must be noted that these area committee funds have benefited sports centres, recreational facilities, voluntary organisations and various floral amenities, displays throughout town centres. Derrick, what do you think about this idea?
Well, austerity measures that they're trying to make out that everybody has to tighten the belt, right? We're all suffering from it and so forth. And then when you go deeper than that, they say, well, it's all because of what the bankers have done and such and such. But the bottom line is basically, when there's such things as austerity measures and the poor people having to cut back, somebody out there is making a lot of money from the hard times. Because we live in such an unfair society that we're made to accept what's basically wrong. So these cuts that they're giving us at the moment for local communities to do such and such, it's just causing more people to do things that's wrong.
Kirklees is, of course, a predominantly Labour council. They are the majority on the council at the moment. Do you think this could be an idea of Kirklees Council manipulating these cuts to make national government look bad, being a Tory government?
Well, you bring me back to the same point what I said before. It's mainly a Labour government, right? But the Labour government is only became electable under Tony Blair. And Tony Blair, as you know, is basically a conservative wrapped in a Labour club. That's what it is basically. You know what I mean? So when you're talking about governments, you need to restructure the whole thing, and that's what I'm saying. We need people of a working class background and so forth to be representing us. And once we continue to be represented by these so-called governments, because I'm not really a government man, I must admit I don't vote. I don't vote Labour, I don't vote for none of them. So, you know, because as the saying goes, they're basically all the same.
Well, according to our panel, this is certainly contributing to local people losing trust, both in local and national politicians. In other news, pay up £3,000 or the toilets will be closed. This was the message from Kirklees Council chiefs to Murfield Town Council, who've accused the Kirklees Council of reneging on a deal to keep the town's public toilets open. It must also be mentioned more widely that this is being a big issue more widely across Kirklees, affecting areas such as New Mill, Home, Marsh, Millsbridge, Slowett, Marsden, Honley, Batley, Birstall and Heckmondwike. It seems like Kirklees Council are trying to flush away any hopes of public amenities being kept open across Kirklees. This is going to be a big issue for people locally in our town centres, but particularly elderly people and disabled people who may struggle with getting into shop toilets and private toilets, many of which you can find are sometimes upstairs or located in cellars. So obviously you can't be relying on elderly people and the disabled to get downstairs. How is this going to affect people in our town centres, do you think, Derrick?
No, let me get this right. I might seem a bit ignorant, or I don't understand this. Are you trying to say that they're going to close down all the public toilets? So how are they expecting people to use the toilets in the town centre, shopping and things like that? Are you trying to say that's going to stop? We're living in England in the 21st century, they're trying to say that well, people might as well basically just go on the street and sit down and do it right in front of them and say, well, all right, arrest me. Because I don't understand that. I don't know. Is that what you're trying to say?
You're understanding correctly. The toilets in the places mentioned are being sold off, maintained for alternate use, or completely demolished. Those are the three options. Because it's not just the toilet maintenance, it's not just decorating, cleansing, it's also pipeline, it's the sewage pipeline which could go all the way along to the road. The pipes could freeze and there could be a big insurance for a car. So yes, it's a big problem.
So I mean, I don't agree with it, say, putting the prices up. But I mean, in a situation like that, you thought, well, all right, they're charging 20p to go to the toilet. Could they finance it that way?
This is actually not another alternative as well. In fact, the toilets actually being kept open are the ones where you effectively pay £1 to spend a penny.
Yeah.
So, what's your opinion on this, Mumtaz?
Well, I completely disagree with the whole idea of closing down these public toilets, really. And the reason being is because some of the people you've mentioned, for example, like the elderly or people who are disabled, a lot of these people are living sometimes alone. They're living in maybe an isolation at home. And their only interaction maybe with the local public is when they actually get into the town. And so if they're going into town and they're the ones who may be the more needy of using the toilets as well, and if they haven't got access to the toilets, they're having to go to a shop, I think it's completely wrong, really. They're going bonkers.
Well, it sounds like Kirklees are going to be caught short on this issue. Kirklees have stated to Mirfield Town Council that unless they pay the £3,000 service bill by the 22nd of November, the public toilets in the town will be closed. Now, in other news, Huddersfield students have been warned to pay for their TV licences or face a £1,000 fine. The news comes as more than 150 students in the Huddersfield HD5 locality have been found out to be streaming live TV without the appropriate licensing. The TV licence reflects a more national debate as to whether the BBC itself should remain nationalised and reliant on these kinds of charges, or whether the BBC should, of course, pay its own way. What's your opinion on the TV licence in general?
You've touched a nerve with me that one.
Okay.
You've touched a nerve with me that one, because I just cannot for the life of me understand why do we have to pay a TV licence? What is the need for TV licence? All these other stations advertise to get revenue for their stations, right? Why can't the BBC advertise to get revenue for the station like everybody else? Why can't I have a choice? If they don't want to advertise, why can't I have a choice and say, well, all right then, take the BBC, I won't watch BBC, I'll watch everything else, and then I won't have to pay a TV license. Why am I being taken to court? Then I can be jailed for not having a TV license. So it doesn't make sense.
So you're saying that this is an infringement on the property that you have inside your home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
Mumtaz, what do you think about that?
No, I think exactly the same as well. I think the BBC, the whole organisation setup, I think it's too big of a setup. I think it should be broken down. I think the local people should have a lot more say over how the services should be run. And I think this charge system, I think it's, I mean, talking about students is where it all kind of started off from.
Yeah.
The students are already having to pay so much amount more extra over what they used to pay in previously, because these university fees have increased extortionately. So it seems that every organisation is out now just to take every single penny out of people's pockets that they can and wherever they can. And I think it should stop.
But they shouldn't criminalise people for not having a TV license. You shouldn't have to go to court and be told, well, you know, you can be jailed for not. That's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense, because a lot of countries. I'm coming from the Caribbean, so-called Caribbean. right? If you buy a television, you pay one license on purchase, and that's it. That's it for the rest of it. You don't pay no other license, and I think they should be looking along them sort of system where people just pay one figure and that's it, but not every year. And having said that, the license fee goes up every year, and we've no choice but to pay it. I think you've got to be about 75 years old now before you get a free TV license.
If you live that long.
You know?
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Well, some more very poignant stuff there, but we're going to take a break now. I'm Thomas Hirst, and you're watching Kirklees Local TV's Weekly Wind-Up. And if you have any comments regarding anything you've heard so far, you can contact us by email on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com, and of course you can find us on Twitter by searching @Kirklees Local TV. See you after the break.
Welcome back. You're watching Kirklees Local TV's Weekly Wind-Up. My name is Thomas Hirst. Now, onto our feature story for this week. Thousands of people across the Kirklees area attended Sunday services in remembrance of the people who fought in various conflicts around the world. The parade included the 4th Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, Huddersfield Royal Naval Association, the Duke of Wellington's Regimental Association, the Royal British Legion Huddersfield Branch, and Huddersfield and District Army Veterans Association. It must be noted that our freedoms were not just fought for by white middle-class men, but also many regiments throughout the Commonwealth, including the Gurkhas, various Sikh regiments, and of course African regiments as well. It was very much a world war, particularly World War I, in terms of, yes, various countries fought each other, but also various diverse different groups of people came together to fight for the cause of freedom. Now, Derrick, you've got a particular opinion on this. Would you like to share what you think?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a particular opinion, because the fact is, my opinion is shared by a lot of people. It's just not heard. But my opinion is basically that the amount of blacks, I mean, you can represent the Asians and things, but I'm representing the blacks here. And the amount of blacks that fought in the World War I, World War II, and most of the wars that's been fought around the world, that we are represented there. And I'm saying that we're not recognized. We're basically not recognized, because they tend to keep us in the background as though we had nothing to do with it, you know what I mean? And I think that's an injustice that needs to be put right, because we fought for freedom, justice and equality. But do we enjoy freedom, justice and equality today, what we fought for? I don't think we do. But as I was saying, even when black people were fighting in these wars, the racial elements of what was going on behind the scenes was terrible. You know, they had to endure a lot of prejudice and so forth, even while they were fighting on the side of the English.
But Mumtaz, you've got a very poignant story regarding your grandfather.
Yes, this is in 1943 to around 1945. So he was fighting against the Japanese occupation, and he was in Burma. Became POW, prisoners of war. They were caught. But when they were actually freed, what happened was, I think the British government must have made some sort of an arrangement with the Japanese government that the people who are being freed, that they should be given something in return for the amount of time that they've actually spent in prison there. And so what they did was, they're actually given Japanese money to these soldiers, prisoners of war who were freed. And so my grandfather got this money as well. When he came back to his village, the younger children, who were much younger before he went to war, came to meet him and everything. And he says, half of them I didn't even recognize, but because they'd come to meet me, he goes, I thought I need to give them something as a present or something. And of course, he'd bought nothing for them. But he goes, I opened my bag and I saw these piece of papers that had these sort of really nice colors on them and stuff. So he thought, this is nice piece of papers, I'll just hand these out to them. He didn't get it converted.
Of course, our appreciation goes out to the various people throughout the decades who fought for the freedom of our country. On to our last story for this week. A bus driver driving the local 341 service from Stocksmoor to Huddersfield fell unconscious whilst driving the top of Almonbury Bank. One passenger thought he was leaning out to check his mirrors, but after further observation found that the driver had indeed lost consciousness. At this point, a nameless mystery hero intervened and steered the bus to a juddering halt at the side of the pavement. What do you make of this, Mumtaz? It's a shocking story so close to home.
It is a shocking story, and I think it's one that had a good ending to it, luckily, that they were able to stop the bus. But I think certainly the bus company should be investigating and finding out how this has happened and what happened to the driver. Was it just a sudden issue that occurred, or was it the driver was tired or didn't not enough rest, or what had happened really?
Well, that's just something you can't. It's just one of those acts of nature, you know. And something just happens, so you can't really. It's nobody to blame it that for. You can't blame the driver. You can't blame. There's no blame to be attributed to nobody on a situation like that, basically.
Well, the mystery hero is still to be named, and the police are still searching for the man that partook in this heroic act. As always, please remember to send us your comments and tips. Tell us what you want us to know. To do this, you can contact us by email on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com, and you can find us on Twitter by searching @KirkleesLocalTV. Thank you very much to our guests today, Mumtaz Ali and Derrick Clement. I'm Thomas Hirst. You've been watching Kirklees Local TV's weekly wind-up. We look forward to you tuning in again next week. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.